I could start with a lot of things. But let's start with a question. What is form?
How does nature design itself? Under what principles, patterns, regulations, rhythms, agreements does life take form? This is a question that has been slowly and decidingly rooting itself in my life, influencing the ways I relate to and question the world. For there must be a rhythm to nature, a beat, a hum that motions life onward. Why does light dance in such beauty upon the perfect movement of the water ripple? What is motion, and what does it really mean for things to move and be moved? How come leaves know when to grow and when to fall? And how can I possibly begin to comprehend the supreme intelligence that is the natural world? One can answer these questions in many ways, and many people already have. But I'm interested in the more intimate and integral ways of understanding nature's design. The kind of understanding that lives not only in the mind, but deep within me, expanding my capacities of holding and feeding new discoveries of self. For to truly understand is to relate to. And I suppose that is what this video is about, and perhaps the answer to my question. Relations. To understand form, I discovered, means to understand relationships. When exploring nature's design, I kept coming back to the same concept of contradiction. That form is created in the spaces between polarities. When elements of nature relate to each other, life takes its shape. Take any plant matter, for example. In order for growth to occur, parts of a plant must decay and be released for another part to grow. One leaf needs to die for another to form. Because plants cannot process their own matter, they rely on a symbiotic relationship with the external world, in which many seemingly separate beings, like microbes, roots, or mycelium, come together in a balance of relation to undergo the process of decay and ultimately new growth. This all reiterates the idea that form is a manifestation of relationships. In plants, the contradicting forces of decay and birth are constantly in interaction with each other, creating a continuous balance for growth to form faster than the plant is able to decay. If there were no forces of decay, then a plant would never be able to form new growth. It is in the tension of opposing forces that ultimately manifests as form. Even at its very foundation, life functions through opposition. The consistency of birth and death and the fundamental energies they represent demonstrate endlessly the vital importance of the whole. Growth is a direct result of decay, and life is the constant, perpetual balancing of relationships. It is because of nature's contradictions and the harmonious balance between them that there is life. All beings on the planet are in constant reaching towards light. It is our life source, our great striving. And yet if we were any closer, we would die. It is the distance, the balance of the light and the dark that holds life. Looking at a tree, one can see this balance of weight and light. A tree, or a seed, or any plant matter, exists between the earth and sky, the root seeking the weight of the ground, and the sprout or the branches moving up towards the light. The whole holding the tension of the two, bridging worlds and creating its form as a physical manifestation of the tension of gravity. Perhaps we can feel these polarities within our own bodies, with our feet solidly and steadily grounded on earth, and the rest of us stretching upwards towards light. Perhaps we too exist in the tension of life's contradicting energies. Further on this note, if a plant was only growth, only expanding with no constraint, nature would be parasitic and cancerous. Without reduction, form could not shape itself. Instead of branches that move with light and the elements, trees would be nothing but bark and incoherent matter. It is this balance of expanding and reducing, as seen so clearly in leaves taking their shape, a petal's division, or the twisting of tree branches, that form is able to develop. Life is formed through the material manifestation of the balance of matter. Life is the product of the motion of balance. Motion can only exist with stillness, as sound can only exist with silence. What is motion and sound but the balance of relationships? Wind constantly rushing to fill spaces that it left empty, wavelengths reverberating through space in a harmonious dance of expansion and contraction. A restless balance spiraling in on itself. Contradictions, opposition, polarities, growth and decay, tension and movement, weight and light, relationships and balance. In many ways, these recognitions are incredibly obvious. Anyone who pays a little attention to nature can see these patterns clearly. And yet I still see an immense lack of cultural understanding of natural systems. It was my original intention with this project to understand the design principles of nature and what creates form. I wanted to understand form, so I had to explore balance and then relationships. And as an extension of this, I then began to question how we can integrate the genius of nature's design into our own human systems. Isn't it so that if we comprehend nature's intelligence, then we can apply it to our own? For if we truly understand the means in which life balances itself, then we can understand how to live in reciprocity with it. How do we find our balance with life? What contradictions can be embraced? For what functions better than nature? And as extensions of ecology, where lays potential to redesign our own systems with life? Can we take the central patterns that form functions within and apply it to any system? Can we expand these themes onto architecture, economics, social structures, the foundation of our interactions with each other and the living world? And ultimately, can developing a real understanding of the design of nature help us value our relationship to life and honor the seamless balancing we are constantly taking part in? For the natural world will always find its equilibrium. It is up to us to find our place within it.